Live from my watch. Live from my watch presents another chapter in the ongoing saga of StonerSteve's time-traveling adventures. Now, from the notebooks found in our archives, here comes a story from millions of years ago. If she had to guess, Mars would say she had been around the sun almost 300 times since the last visit to her sister's planetary surface. Why had it been so long? It was hard to remember. Had there been a fight, a misunderstanding? It was probably her own fault. She could have a quick temper that burned strong but fizzled out quickly. She traveled to her sister. Mars caused one of her volcanoes to erupt, throwing a large trunk of molten lava out past her atmosphere into the darkness of space, carrying the planet's essence with it. She glowed in the reflection of the sun off her red rock surface. She was a substantial asteroid, but tiny in relation to the infinity around her, a streak of light flying through an ocean of stars. Mars projected her essence into a physical form, bringing together the elements of her planetary surface to create a visage that was beautiful in its austere features. She had very little living organisms within her planet's ecosystem, so she used the rocks, lava, and sand. Her face was modeled after one of her favorite mountains on the planetary surface. It looked confident and sincere, at least to her. When Mars lands on Earth, she crashes into her sister. It's just how she shows love. When they were younger, still occasionally, even now, she would tackle her sister's projection and the two would roll around mock wrestling. It wasn't Earth's preferred way of receiving affection. She enjoyed their long discussions after the wrestling, when they would sit and chat about the beauty of the universe and the ecosystems on their surfaces and the great mystery of the sun. Mars enjoyed these talks as well, but she usually felt frustrated afterward. Her sister always seemed so confident and quiet. The sure way which with Earth uttered her opinion flustered Mars, who would usually shout a response, masking insecurity with anger. But they were happy to see each other. Earth took Mars to one of her favorite ecosystems, a stretch of white sand and azure ocean with tall palm trees clustered together in shady little neighborhoods hanging over the sand. The two sisters had spent several days lounging, enjoying the sweet fruits produced by nearby flora and playing with the creatures that had evolved on Earth's surface. Mars loved her sister and the amazing things that had evolved here. Earth was never alone. She had so many creatures living on her, a feeling Mars would never experience. Their organic makeups were just different, which Mars knew it was just how it was. A long time ago, she had resolved not to be jealous. But she had to remind herself of this before each visit. One night, while they sat side by side in front of a small fire, looking out at the ocean, Mars asked Earth what her least favorite ecological spot was. Earth had to think about it through the night. But as the planet turned towards the sun, she finally had an answer. Her northernmost point. Mars had never seen it, and now she knew why. Immediately, Mars asked to be shown. Earth laughed, and they went. When they reached the area, Mars's lava was frozen into obsidian, creating a sort of protective barrier against the driving snowy winds. The two discovered a tiny camp of humans as they were flying down from Earth's northern point, and it stopped because Mars loved interacting with the humans who had evolved on her sister's surface. Earth enjoyed it too, with something like a motherly love, but more detached. She didn't choose to bring the humans into existence, and she chose to not interfere with them, or at least seldom. However, she did enjoy watching them. But Mars really enjoyed interacting with the humans, and sometimes it worried Earth. She watched her sister. One night, as they were staying with this camp of humans, Mars was curled up on a bed of pine needle leaves. A sort of blanket made from reindeer pelt covered her. Earth was sitting and smoking, meditating. There was a secret she'd been keeping from Mars for some time. One of the topics the sisters spoke of the most was the topic that brought Mars the most frustration. It was the inability for life to form on her surface. She wasn't the only one in their solar system without the building blocks for independent life to evolve. But most of the planets had some form of life on them or under the surface, like Uranus. Earth had reminded Mars many times of the wonderful things that she had that no other planetary being had. And when she visited her sister's red, rocky surface, she always spoke highly of the sweeping vistas and dramatic rock formations. Mars, for her part, could usually put this longing out of her head, sometimes even for centuries. But then the feelings of loneliness would just come over her. Earth sat in a cloud of smoke and thought. Recently, during her travels, she discovered an amazing development in one of the many societies on her surface. The humans had found a piece of Mars that had broken off when she crashed into Earth's surface sometime in the past. Using the elements contained within the sample of Mars' surface, humans had developed a power source previously unknown on the planet. Using it, they had built an incredible city that Earth was pleased to note was completely sustainable. She had watched them for so long, observing the differences between the civilization and the others that had existed across her surface. There was something really beautiful and special about the way that these people lived in harmony with each other and their environment. And Earth cried a little when she realized that this social evolution taking place on her surface was the result of a collaboration between her naturally occurring species and a piece of her sister's surface. Earth had only hesitated to share the development because she worried that Mars might not see it as the beautiful thing that she did. Her sister's emotions could be volatile. When Mars woke up, Earth smiled at her through the fog of smoke that had formed inside the hut. Then she said, "Would you like to see how much of these creatures can actually accomplish?" Mars looked around her. The fact that they have figured out how to thrive in such a harsh environment as this is impressive on its own. Earth nodded. "I do love this little valley. I shall have to remember and return here in future. However, you know, the cold is not my favorite, so let me take you somewhere warm." When Mars saw the sprawling metropolis, buildings towering into the sky, rising out of an ocean of sand, she was visibly taken aback at the splendor of it. This was the most advanced civilization to ever evolve on Earth's surface. The entire city was protected under a bubble of energy that slightly distorted the view of the city from viewers outside. This bubble not only offered protection from radiation and other natural elements, since it was powered by Mars-sourced elements, no Earth-based weapons could penetrate it. Instead of developing this technology into weapons, however, the people who founded the city chose to use it for protection. Any individual or group who sought asylum would find it here in this city. The energy field allowed for the control of elements and heat, so that peak growing conditions could be maintained all year, which meant plenty of food and resources for everyone. How have they achieved all of this, while the rest of their sisters and brothers still labor with sticks and stones? Mars asked curiously. The sisters held hands as they passed through the gate into the city, a security measure they often took when exploring new places. As they walked through the city, meeting the inhabitants and learning about the culture, their postures slowly relaxed and they drifted further apart, each seeking the things that caught their own interest. Finally, they met up again and dropped down to rest on a bench. "So much to see," Mars laughed. "I know, it's actually rather incredible." Earth leaned against her sister's shoulders and Mars wrapped an arm around her. "Are you okay?" Earth sighed, causing a nearby butterfly to flutter against the sudden breeze. The planets took no notice. "I'm just so happy," Earth replied. They sat in silence for a little bit, just watching the busy crowd around them. Everyone seemed to be going somewhere, but no one seemed to be in a hurry. Finally, Earth sat up and drew one leg onto the bench so she could face her sister. "I haven't even shown you the most amazing part yet. It's what makes this whole thing work. It's what allowed these creatures to evolve to such an extent." She stopped talking and looked into her sister's shining eyes. Mars is picking up the excitement radiating from her sister like heat from a rock in the sun. But she was beginning to feel the familiar frustration clawing up into her consciousness, her usual defense against the deeper feeling of loneliness that haunted her. She studied the amber-flecked eyes of her sister. "What is it, Green?" Earth smiled, finally determined to tell her sister the truth. "It's you, Red. This whole city. It's powered by elements from your surface." She gestured at the metropolis around them. Mars felt something leap inside her, a feeling she felt so seldomly that it had almost been forgotten. Hope. She felt hope at the possibilities hanging in Earth's statement. "What do you mean? How? I never gave them anything." Mars knew of Earth's reluctance to interfere with the creatures on her surface, and she'd always tried to respect that. "I think they got it from one of the places you landed. It must have broken off." Earth hurried on, hoping Mars wouldn't be angry that she had kept this a secret. They figured out how to use it. It took a few generations, but they were able to use your elements to build this." Mars looked around, seeing the splendor of her surroundings in a new way. She didn't know what to say. They built this from me?" Earth nodded. Can I see it? The energy source?" Earth's hesitation was noticeable. They're very careful about it since their whole way of life is built around it. Yeah, I think it's actually under the city somewhere. Very protected. I would love to see it. I would really, really like to see it. Mara's voice was quiet, and her sister struggled to know her true emotions. "Okay," Earth finally agreed. And they make their way down. They talk to the humans of the city and are given a tour of the power source hidden below underneath the city. The humans are proud to explain it to them. Mars is amazed and very curious. She wants to know how it works and examines everything closely. Earth is getting more and more nervous because Mars seems to be growing manic, and she can't tell if her sister is happy or angry at the revelation. And finally, Mars announces, "I want to take it back to my planet and examine it closer." "No," Earth says. "These people made it. It belongs to them." The humans are shocked. Earth continues. It would disrupt the whole civilization if the energy source is removed. Mars is determined. She grows furious at her sister's refusal. Suddenly, she is in flames. Red flames licking at the ground, lashing out around her. The obsidian dress is shattered, and she becomes a flowing lava goddess, towering over the humans. Earth takes on the elemental form of water, pulling it from deep below. The two rush to the surface, crashing through a street. People run screaming. The battle lasts too long, and during it, Mars destroys much of the city. Earth tries to contain her, and at last, Earth is able to end the fight by overpowering her sister with wave after wave after wave of water that finally cools, encasing Mars in a stone shell which she shatters before flying away, leaving Earth's surface for a very long time. But what Earth doesn't know is that Mars has taken just a little bit of organic material with her. All that she'll need to start forming her own colony. As night falls, Earth walks among the ruins of the once beautiful city. She mourns the unnatural loss of life, feeling responsible for what has occurred. In her sorrow, she buries the city under the sand, the dead, and the energy source with it. And then she fills in a deep pool of water that eventually grows into an oasis. The exact location is unknown to this day, but it existed. In some timeline, somewhere. Hey, StonerSteve. Just wanted to stop in here at the end of the episode and say thanks for listening. If you've been enjoying this story, leave a comment, man, or a review. I'd really appreciate it. Tune in next week. We'll be doing something, man. You never know what. That's why it's called Live from My Watch. Anyways, I'll see you next time. Bye.